stand up for justice. A man dies when he refuses to stand up for that which is true. And so I say to the city of Memphis, we're on the move now. We're on the move, and no wave of racism can stop us. We're on the move now. We're on the move, and the bombing of our churches and the burning of our homes will not deter us. We're on the move now. Like an idea whose time has come, the mighty marching of an army will not discourage us. We're on the move now. Yes, we're on the move to the land of freedom. And we mean business now. We are determined to gain our right in God's world. That's what this thing is all about. We're not engaged in any negative protest. We're not engaged in any negative arguments with anybody. What we're saying to America is be true to what you said on paper. If I lived in China or even Russia or some other totalitarian country, maybe I could understand the denial of certain basic First Amendment privileges because they haven't committed themselves to that over there. But somewhere I read the freedom of assembly. Somewhere I read the freedom of speech. Somewhere I read the freedom of the press. Somewhere I read the greatness of America is the right to protest for right. And so we must have a dangerous kind of unselfishness. The question today is not if I help the sanitation workers, what will happen to me? The question today is if I do not help the sanitation workers, what will happen to them? I was told that if I came to Memphis, I wouldn't leave out alive. But you see, 12 years ago, I was sitting in a bookstore signing a book when a woman burst through the door. She said, "Are you Martin Luther King Jr.?" I said, "Yes, ma'am, I am." She then pulled out a sharp object and she drove it into my chest. And the doctors say if I had sneezed or if I had laughed too hard, I would have died then of a heart attack. And every morning I looked in the mirror and saw that scar. I knew the price of freedom. And flying in from Atlanta, Georgia to Memphis, the pilot got on the intercom and said, "Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? Sorry for the delay, but Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. is on board, and we want to make sure the aircraft is safe. There had been a bomb threat." And then I came into Memphis, and some began to say the threats and what will happen to me by some of our sick white brothers. Well, I don't know what will happen now. We've got some difficult days ahead, but it doesn't matter with me now because I've been to the mountaintop and I don't mind like anybody. I'd like to live a long life. Longevity has its place, but I'm not concerned about that now. I just want to do God's will. And He's allowed me to go up to the mountain. And I've looked over and I've seen the promised land. I might not get there with you, but I want you to know tonight that we as a people will get to the promised land. And I'm happy tonight. I'm not worried about anything. I'm not fearing any man. Mine eyes have seen the glory of the coming of the Lord. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, the mayor of the city of Memphis, the Honorable Jim Strickland.
Good morning. Welcome to everyone on this very significant day as we honor the 1968 sanitation workers. As we started preparing for this occasion more than 2 years ago, it became clear to us that a priority for Memphis would be something permanent, something lasting, that would celebrate and honor the courage of these men. So today, we will formally unveil I Am a Man Plaza. Now, like all good things in Memphis, it would not have happened without a team effort. And so many people are here to thank that I'm going to mention some of them. I'm sure I'm going to miss out on some. But first and foremost, the City Council. This could not have been done without the partnership of the Memphis City Council. And then our superstar coordinator, Patrice Thomas, and the entire City of Memphis team. The Urban Art Commission and Lauren Kennedy, thank you for your partnership. The Plow Foundation and Rick Masson for your support. Now this is sort of full circle because A Plow gave the money that ended the strike in 1968, and now the foundation he started, the Plow Foundation, has enabled the construction of this lasting tribute. And then all the artists and workers who made this a really beautiful place, made it a reality. Thank you so much. As we move forward from this day, I hope this space becomes a place where Memphians can come to reflect on some fellow Memphians who quite literally changed the world. Because that's who we are in Memphis. And nowhere is that more evident than with these men and the ones who've passed, the 1968 sanitation workers who are here solely for today to pay tribute to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mayor. And now to give us some words from the Plow Foundation and some inspiring words about her grandfather, Miss Diane Rudner.
Thank you all. This plaza will always be a reminder of heroes who fought for equity and political freedom in every form. While it's embedded in the history of Memphis, it represents an opportunity to inspire us and constantly remind us to reflect on our intentions and to examine the complex needs of our current and future communities. We all have different views of how social and civil rights issues should be addressed. But I know everyone here today, whether you're an artist, an architect, a technician, a landscaper, or anyone who had any part in creating this beautiful plaza, is moving forward with good intentions and a passionate desire for a more equitable society. The greatest long-term value of this newly created I Am a Man Plaza, I feel, is the symbolic opportunity it presents to take our ethical temperature and constantly ask ourselves, are we preparing for a better future, both individually and collectively? While the board and the staff of the Plow Foundation are here to honor the legacy of the sanitation workers primarily, we also thought this was the perfect opportunity to honor the legacy of our founder, Abe Plow, who played an instrumental role in settling the sanitation strike in 1968. Over a generation later, his legacy continues, even though, unfortunately, some efforts we support are from the same root causes. But we have just taken different forms of trying to solve these, such as reducing disparities in healthcare delivery, needed enhancements in the public school system, help for victims of physical and financial elder abuse, and various efforts to hopefully create a crime-free Memphis community. We're proud to be a part of this effort, And we applaud the mayor, the city administration, the city council, and the Urban Art Commission because they have taken this lead both in financial and human capital to focus on honoring the families and participants of the strike that took place over 50 years ago. What better time than now, gathered in this formerly abandoned parking lot next to the historic Claiborne Temple, to strive for empathy and peace and continue to be optimistic and positive about our future. Thank you.
Thank you, Diane. And now we have a special guest speaker with us today, near and dear to every single Memphian, but here to share a special part of his history that you're probably less familiar with, Mr. Elliott Perry.
First, let me say how humble I am to be here, and let me thank you, gentlemen, for the sacrifice. My grandfather was not a sanitation worker. He worked for the city of Memphis in the sewage and drainage department, but he marched on that day. And if you see Mr. Withers' photograph of the I Am a Man photograph, and you see the gentleman walk right in front of the frame and looking right in front of the frame, that's my grandfather. And I can remember when I was young, we used to march from Mason Temple to the Lorraine Motel. And one day I asked him, why do I have to march because I didn't want to do it. And here's a man who had a 5th grade education. He wasn't an academic. And he said, when your time comes, you see what I realize now is he meant, this is a relay race. I've run the first leg of the relay race, and ultimately you have to pass the baton to the second leg. My hope is that I can run the second leg of the relay race because I realize that I'm eating from a table that I prepared nothing. And so I'll leave you with this because here's where I interject. One of Dr. King's, in one of his speeches when he was talking about the Vietnam War, he said, on the one hand, we are called to play the Good Samaritan on life's roadside. Jericho Road must be transformed so that men and women would not be constantly beaten and robbed as they make their journey on life's highway. True compassion is more than flinging a coin to a beggar. It comes to see that an edifice which produces beggars needs restructuring. And so all of these issues we talk about, these issues are alive today. When we talk about the race issues, when we talk about police brutality, when we talk about livable wages, when we talk about health care, we realize that African Americans are at the bottom of all of those lists. And what I ask all of us to do is, let's use our voice, and it may be in different ways, but to advocate. And let's not stop advocating, even if some people see or think that it's rabble-rousing. But as we set this table for the next generation, that we can faithfully and honestly pass the baton to some young person, and they feel like I have something to hold on to, that I can take it to the next level. So again, I'm grateful to be here. To the sanitation workers, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you, Elliott. Now to give us some words about how we're forging a new future, we're honored to have our intrepid leader of the National Civil Rights Museum, Ms. Terry Freeman, come forward.
Well, good morning. It's almost afternoon, but good morning, everyone. First of all, I would like to applaud the mayor and the council for creating this park and thank the Plow Foundation for their investment in this. Public art is really important. And public art that has a meaning is that much more important. But what I really wanted to, first of all, congratulate the sanitation workers and thank you for your service. But I wanted to actually tell a story about how I'm connected to the sanitation workers in a way. My grandfather in Chicago worked for the post office. And he worked there all his life, but that wasn't what he wanted to do. He was an artist, and he used to draw sports cartoons. And newspapers used to actually accept his sports cartoons. In fact, he told me that when Joe Louis made his first $50 on winning a fight, he made $50 on drawing the promotions. But when they found out that he was black, they wouldn't accept his artwork any longer. And so he made his career at the post office, as a clerk at the post office. That clerk was able to send this granddaughter to college because of the work ethic that he had and because of the post office. And I used to see my grandfather be so proud of, I'm not sure the exact title, but the Brotherhood of Postal Workers, and how important that union was to him. He taught me so much in the sacrifice that he made from the love of his artwork that he couldn't do, but he made it work anyway. And he did what he could do to make sure that this generation would be secure. I think that this is what the future is. Each of us have to pay it forward. And we have to recognize that the issues that persisted for Elliot's grandfather, for the sanitation workers, for my grandfather, unfortunately, they persist today. We can't afford, frankly, to come back in 10 years and say, we're still focusing on the same thing. So I agree with Elliot that we have to use our voice, but in addition to using our voice, we have to also use our vote. And I believe that that is the power of what was done in 1965, in that we have the ability to put in who we need and to put in and to take out who we don't. And I think that we have to be really focused on making sure that we are also constantly in communication with the people that represent us. So again, I applaud the mayor and the chairman for actually creating this, because this will be here forever. Generations will be able to come and say, I am a man, and it meant something. So thank you very much.
Thank you for those great words, Terry. So we've heard a lot so far, but I think it's important to hear from the gentleman whom I call the dynamic duo, and who, without their vision and inspiration, this would not have been possible. Just a few words before I call our artist, Mr. Cliff Garton, forward, and our landscape architect, Mr. John Jackson. The design that you see before you is not accidental. It represents the best that the world had to offer. Memphis put forth a request 2 years ago for the most inspirational design that this city deserves. And what we have here today was chosen from more than 100 outstanding designs, and this one shown forth as the design that this city deserves. And I think what we have here today shows that Memphis deserves the absolute best. And so to hear the words behind the meaning of the design, I'd like to call forward Cliff Garton, whose vision it was for the design, and John Jackson, whose hands brought it out of the ground.
Thank you, Doug. Hello, Memphis. Hey! I am very honored to have been selected from this national competition to create I Am a Man Plaza. My art and the art of Cliff Garton's studio is about making places. These are places where sculpture makes space and invites people to come into and feel and to respond to a place. In this case, Claiborne Temple and the significant events of civil rights history that took place here. Let there be no doubt that I Am a Man Plaza was made for you and belongs to Memphis, but it also belongs to America. It's a place to teach, a place to gather, a place to feel, and to contemplate these significant historic events. In some essential ways, my vision involved channeling these momentous days of 1968 back to you through this sculpture. And the sculpture is not just the centerpiece, I Am a Man, it is the whole plaza. As I struggle with what this needed to be, I recognized that there was nothing more eloquent than what the sanitation workers simply stated in 1968. The I Am a Man sculpture brings these iconic words into a new moment in our history 50 years later in 2018. But here's the thing. When America again grapples with our history of racism by removing hierarchical monuments across the South, we in Memphis have built a very different kind of memorial. Why is this significant and how is this process different? The design included a way to allow Memphis to take ownership of this piece, along with spoken word artist Steve Fox. Are you here, Steve? There he is. The community of Memphis selected quotations for the marble gates and created the poetic text on the marble gate facing Claiborne Temple. Would you please read that before you leave today? This text is an assessment of where we are 50 years later after the assassination of Dr. Martin Luther King. And it is a kind of time capsule for this historic moment. I Am a Man Plaza is not a hierarchical place. It is horizontal, and it is inclusive, and it is participatory. You are invited to, through the marble gates, etched with the words of the men and the women who laid it on the line in 1968. And you must walk through their words to get inside this plaza. Come back tonight when the I Am a Man sculpture is illuminated as it glows as a beacon for justice. Take a walk on the granite ellipse. Read the timeline of the events of the strike, and read and touch the names of the 1,300 sanitation workers on the dedicatory wall. The sum of these sculptures is the place, I Am a Man Plaza. And the question it asks is, how will we deal with social justice as we move forward from this day? All of this would not have been possible without the support of Mayor Jim Strickland, the Memphis City Council, and the very generous grant of the Plow Foundation, the work of Patrice Thomas, of Lauren Kennedy of the Urban Art Commission, Faith Morris of the Civil Rights Museum, Professor Ernestine Jenkins, and so many other people in Memphis. The list is too long to even mention. Matt Gilliot-Tenon, would you stand up, Matt? From my studio, is a talented young designer who did the incredible digital design of all of this work. My colleague and friend, John Jackson, encouraged me not to compromise on the complete vision as he led the design team and the city to what you see here today. I'd also like to thank Quora Stone for their incredible work on the digitally carved marble gates, and Metal Arts Foundry with their help with the bronze and stainless steel sculpture. This design involves not only the art of sculpture, but also the art of landscape. The selection of oak trees in the back of the dedicatory wall will gradually grow and take on a kind of a majesty, so the plaza is really tied to the landscape and will change over time. So Memphis, love it and care for it. It will give back to you and to our nation in ways you cannot yet imagine. Thank you.
I'd like to say good morning, good afternoon to everyone. I am John Jackson III, President and CEO of JPA Incorporated. We're landscape architects and planners, and we've been in business for 27 years, and we started right here in Memphis, Tennessee. I stand before you today, and I led a design team of some of the best professionals that I think this country has to offer, in association with a great artist, Cliff Garden in his studio, SSR engineers, PSI, All World, great contractors, Precise Construction. But I must admit, I never thought that I would see this plaza come to fruition as it has. As I stand here today in front of you, I can't be any prouder, and I'm somewhat lost for words. And that's, most of you who know me know that that's a big statement to make. But let me say this. The City Council, Mayor Strickland, City of Memphis, design team, construction team, all the people who contributed to Plow Foundation, came together and in essence, I think, fulfilled a dream of what training behind a cause. But today, if I didn't say to you that again, the real heroes of this are the sanitation workers. I think about, and throughout this project, I thought about the courage it had to take a stand that they took. And I don't know if I could have done that or not, but I'll tell you this. From the stand that you all took and many, many years ago to where we are today, we've come a long way. We got a long way to go, too. But I believe that the dedication of this plaza today is a great step to Memphis, to America, and to the world to say the following. No matter how far and how dark it looks, when you look to that light on the horizon, it is possible to achieve whatever it is when we all come together. I thank you for the opportunity to speak to you today, and I also thank you for the opportunity to lead this great team. And thank you, Memphis. Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. And hopefully this weekend you get some well-earned rest. I don't think they've stopped since they started this project a year ago. And they'll be taking questions later over in the corner if you want to know the real story of the struggle to get this done. So, before we wrap this program up, we have the opportunity for some inspiring music. As I said, words that mean so much to so many and meant something special to Dr. King. And so, ladies and gentlemen, please, a warm welcome for Memphis' own Karen Brown.
Well, all right, a cappella works too. Well, all right, we won't worry about it. How I got over, how I made it over. You know my soul, look back and wonder how I made it over. How I got over. Coming on over. You know my soul, look back and wonder how I made it over. Tell me how we got over. Had a mighty hard time coming on over. You know my soul look back and wonder, how did we make it over? Tell me how we made it over. Rising and falling all these years, but you know my soul look back and wonder, how did I make it over? But soon as I can see Jesus, the man who died for me, the man who bled and suffered, you know he hung on Calvary. And I want to thank him for how he brought me. And I want to thank him for how he taught me. Oh, I want to thank my God because he kept me. I want to thank him because he never left me. And I'm going to sing hallelujah. And I'm going to shout, all my troubles over. And I want to thank God, thank him for being so good to me. Oh, how I got over. How I made it over. Yeah. Oh, my soul looks back and wonder how I made it over. Oh, how I made it over. I had to cry in the midnight hour to make it over. But you know my soul looks back and wonder how I made it over.
Well, I sure don't want to be the guy that has to follow that. So, Chairman, that was fantastic. Thank you, Karen. What a great, another round of applause for Karen. That was fantastic. Okay, folks, we are coming to the end of the formal piece, and we need to wrap it up. So I'm serious when I say it's hard to follow, but there's no better guy than our friend, Chairman Berlin Boyd, to close us out.
I believe I was set up. Good afternoon. What an honor to be here today to mark this location as a place to remember the sacrifices made by the 1968 sanitation strikers. I am a man, a short phrase that only consists of 4 words. But yet these 4 words made the world think. The word I am a man were beyond factual, they were also inspirational and transformative. These words created a movement which led to Dr. King's last visit to Memphis. The I Am a Man Plaza should be a place to remember the past, but also focus on our future. This plaza shows us what can be done when people come together and work towards change that not only impacts their lives, but the lives of others. Too many times we sit back on the sidelines hoping for change, but not willing to stand for change. These men's sacrifices represents the epitome of the saying that it's not the size of the dog in the fight, but the size of the fight in the dog. Let us mark this plaza as a place where dreams can become realities, desperation can become hope, and isolation can become inspiration. Allow this plaza not only to inspire us, but let it inspire positive changes, not only in Memphis, but throughout the world. In the words of Dr. King, be a bush if you can't be a tree. If you can't be a highway, just be a trail. If you can't be a sun, just be a star. For it isn't the size of you that you win or fail. Be the best of whatever you are. It is a privilege for me at this moment to do a little special thanks of all of the people that have really contributed to the construction of this great plaza. And so, special thanks to the one and only Doug McGowan, who is the tools and resources of this project. We have Patrice Thomas, who was the project team lead. Lauren Kennedy of the Urban Arts Commission. Cliff Garden of Cliff Garden Studios. John Jackson of JPA Incorporated. Martin Carradine of Precise Construction. And let me stop right here because Martin Carradine, you get a special shout out because you and your team worked through the snow, through the rain, at night. So I want to give you a special thanks for making this possible. Anderson Guy and David Rosenbaum, All World Project Management, special shout out to them. And Lakeith Mason, I saw Lakeith somewhere walking around here, but Lakeith Mason, Felicia Harris, Allison Fouché. We want to thank the city chiefs, division directors and their staff, Ursula Madden of Communications, Robert Connect, Public Works, Antonio Adams of General Service, Paul Young at HCD, Manny Boleen of Engineering, and a special thanks to my colleagues, the wonderful group that I represent, Memphis City Council, and to the mayor's office. Ms. Patrice Thomas, I think Doug's coming up next. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Chairman. The mayor said at the beginning we couldn't do this without a partnership between the mayor and the city council. So, folks, in just a minute, we're going to move to the ribbon cutting. But before we do so, there's several other special people I'd like to recognize. Mr. Bill Lucy is with us today. He was here. Bill, are you still able? Represented the folks back in 1968 and is here with us to help us cut the ribbon. And he was instrumental in helping us get to closure in the strike. And we also have Reverend James Lawson with us down here in the front. You'll see him memorialized on the circle. So, Reverend, we're so glad to have you here. And we'd please love to have you join us in the ribbon cutting. Before I close, just one other program note. What a fantastic turnout we have here today. This is a special place. It's the epicenter of the things that happened in Memphis. We have the National Civil Rights Museum just a few blocks away. Tomorrow at 1 p.m., we will be unveiling another iconic park in Memphis, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Reflection Park, 2 blocks that direction at the corner of 2nd and Dr. Martin Luther King Boulevard. And I encourage all of you to come tomorrow for a similarly inspiring event at 1 p.m. And if you haven't, I'd also like to call recognition. She's no longer with us, but she has a team of individuals who are here representing her, Miss Cornelia Crenshaw, who is an icon in a community standing for civil rights. If you are not aware, 2 blocks to our east is the Cornelia Crenshaw Branch Library. There is a brand new marker placed in her honor in front of that library, and it has been spruced up. I encourage you all to get there and learn just a bit more about how important she was to us. And so, if I can have everybody stand and move back towards the gates, we'll have the mayor, the artists, Reverend Lawson, Mr. Lucy, and I'd like some folks
turn it on. It's on. Cool.
Because I was plugging some up.
Get on a boom mic. Where's the boom mic? With the sack up. It's in a large bag. So you're getting this audio here.
Look, bro. You see him? Bro,
It's already cut.
All right, he got it.
Don't move, lady.
We needed one. Anthony.
Right here.
Do not touch the women. Everybody look at the camera.
Listen, look at Barry. He said, look at the camera. There you go.
Everyone looking forward. All right, gentlemen, we're going to cut the women on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. All hands up. They are officially open.
Can't get up. Make it Come on. What's up, brother? How you doing? I can bag out through there. How's it going? Y'all good? What's the Nolan? Christian. We're working on it. I want you to work.
What do you hope people can learn about the sanitation strike?
Learn about different things, about Martin Luther King and Reverend Jackson, all them people. I think it's a great day for the Memphis to enjoy this plaza. And I enjoyed myself. And it's good to have a plaza like that. Now that shows Memphis is outstanding.
What has this week meant to you?
This week meant a good week to me. And I enjoyed myself. And all of the people enjoyed themselves. All the people coming around, they enjoyed themselves too.
How much longer do you plan on going, working, sir?
I'm figuring on leaving this month, but I might not, but I'm figuring on it.
And you've been there 63 years, is that correct?
63 years.
63 years.
Right, sir.
How far, you're still working, how far have we come since 1968?
We have come a long ways, but we could be a little better, but I appreciate it what the mayor and the city council did, and I think more people in Memphis enjoy this all over the world. And they should come to Memphis. There's more people coming to Memphis now than they ever were. They're going to put Memphis on the map. They're going to put it on the map.
Mr. Nico Bear, anything else you'd like to add, sir?
Well, I thank God for this, to being in Memphis. Memphis is a good place, but we have to get together to be the best place in the world.
When you think about the strike, what stands out most? What do you remember most about that 65 days?
About the men's march of Martin Luther King and the time he came to Memphis.
What do you remember thinking about April 5th, 1968, the day after he passed away, and then the negotiations really kicked in?
I felt mighty bad. So our man marched on Washington, had them many people come and march with us. I think it's been mighty good. If it wasn't for Martin Luther King, we would have been still marching now. He's a great man. He believed in nonviolence, and that's what I believe in, nonviolence.
He sacrificed for you?
All right, folks, we're going to step over here. We're going to find Reverend Lawson over here and right here. It's all good. Right here.
We may have been roommates in some youth conference someplace in the Midwest. Yeah, well, we were. That's what we were. He's trying to go directly to the sculpture.
I got you. Well, so we're just Anthony in the front. We're just walking over. We got it. We're just walking over. Just back it up. We just walk right over. It's good to see you. This has to make you feel good. These brothers getting recognized.
Yeah, that's true. It's one of the steps in the right direction again.
Thank you. When's the last time you were here?
Memphis. I was here twice last year, so this first time this year.
Guys who are still fighting for what's right.
Well, you know, it's a good feeling to be in Memphis for me always. I had 12 good years here. So it's like, in some ways, going home.
Appreciate it, Reverend Lawson. Thanks a lot. How's it going?
How you doing, sir?
How's it going? Oh, appreciate it. Appreciate it. Come on. Over here. Over here. Cleo, good to see you.
Good to be here this morning.
Obviously, so how does it feel when you to have this plaza dedicated specifically to those sanitation workers, guys like you?
So how do it feel? It feels great because I never would have thought 50 years ago that we would be standing here in this place in unity. So the only thing I can say is awesome.
For the folks who don't know, I mean, how critical was Claiborne Temple in terms of as the meeting place for you?
it was critical because, for one thing, when we would come down here to assemble for whatever we had to do, it would always be some kind of violence. So.
And last thing, when you still see the surviving sanitation workers, is this in many ways like a fraternity, like a brotherhood?
Yes, I would say it's like a brotherhood, but it's one thing I would like to interject, if you don't mind. I'm still at work.
Yeah.
After 50 years, April the 15th to be 51 years. So we trying to get the city to take in consideration of the gentlemen that's working out there part-time, been there a year to 5 years with no kind of benefits. So that's one of the things that we're trying to get settled.
So you guys are still fighting a good fight against the city of Memphis?
Still fighting the fight. So we're taking the struggle further because we just can't stop here. We got to remember those that's out there. Last year we had a gentleman that died on the job, part-time worker, wife and 5 children with no benefit. So I'm not concerned about myself, but I'm concerned about somebody else. Because somebody brought me through, so I'm here. I could go home, but I'm going to stay right here and fight until we get justice.
All right, then. We appreciate it. Good seeing you. Thanks a bunch. All right. How you doing, Doc? Roland Martin, how you doing? All good? Just go say it again. Just going to ask you real quick. How important is it for the next generation to see this and to understand what it was all about?
Very important. Very important generation. They learn something from.
And of course, when you see the other men out here, the surviving sanitation workers, I asked Cleo this: is it in many ways like a fraternity, a brotherhood?
Yeah. Maybe they'll get together and join each other and do the right thing. Get like a brotherhood. And think it'll be better for ourselves.
Well, it was certainly good to see you. That's a small medal they gave y'all. That's almost like a dinner plate.
Yeah.
All right. You say you wanted a photo? You said a photo. I heard you. I didn't forget. All right. It's all good. All right. Where's your camera? There you go. All right.
Thank you.
All right. Cool.
You're awesome.
I appreciate it. Thank you. All right. So, folks, we're going to do a few more interviews over here. Let's see here. I'm going to grab, I saw the sculptor. That's we're going to hit over here. The creator of this. So, Anthony, come on. I'm sorry. Actually, 1 second. Hey, how's it going?
Sometimes these things go back and forth, but I think that...
How you doing? Come on. I got it. There you go.
Appreciate it.
Come on. I got it.
I'm so glad you have this down to the science.
There you
Thank
go.
you, my brother.
What's that?
So it's really quite dynamic. Okay, I believe this gentleman wants to...
How you doing? Roland Martin, TV1. How are you? So folks who we will actually live streaming, so let them know your name.
Cliff Garton.
So Cliff, folks are focusing on obviously the I Am a Man monument, if you will, but explain actually. You said up there, you said no, it's the entire ground as well. So explain that vision.
The vision that I have for the work that I do is always about the place and the people that live in that place. And in this case, there was an extremely significant social history that became, the focus of making I Am a Man Plaza. But the plaza is here to serve Memphis. The sculpture honors the sanitation workers, but the plaza is a place for people to come, to gather, for political protest, to just eat lunch and see a friend, and mainly to learn about this really important moment in 1968.
So you have the words that are on the actual monument. Where do those come from?
Come from Dr. King's "I've Been to the Mountaintop" speech.
And so then, of course, Anthony, get a shot here, and then, of course, you have a writing here. I see James Lawson.
James Lawson. James.
So and of course, he was the one who actually called out the King to actually come to Memphis, as the sanitation workers wanted to come. And then, of course, back here, in many ways, sort of like the Vietnam Memorial, you have the names of all of the workers. How many names are here?
1,300. 1,300 names. All the people working in the sanitation department in 1968.
So when you submitted your plan, this was all a part. This was all a part of sort of this whole vision.
Yes, it was. It was a complete vision for a park, and it was a place that actually joins this history back to Claiborne Temple, which, as you know, is being restored now for the community of Memphis and for the nation.
And if a child, or let's say someone 25, 50 years from now, when they have the 100th commemoration after King's assassination, or even the 100th commemoration, the sanitation strike beginning, what do you want that young person to know and understand when they walk through here?
That they're they're living and walking on the efforts of the people that came before them, and that we're honoring those people with this place.
And Dr. King's entire speech is on here?
No, it's fragments.
Okay, all right.
Only it's on to imply that Dr. King was the bedrock of the movement and that he came to support the sanitation workers.
Gotcha. Okay, all right. We appreciate it. Thanks a bunch. All right. And they turn around here. Of course, we got a photo of Reverend Lawson in front of it. Okay, that's fine. Okay, that's fine. You straight? Testing 1, 2, 3. We good? All right, cool. Actually, I appreciate it. Oh, appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you, brother. Where did Of course, folks, you're looking at Reverend Jim Lawson, of course, who was a pastor here, who was working with the sanitation workers. He was the one, as I said earlier, who made the phone call for Dr. King to actually come and visit, to come to Memphis to stand with the sanitation workers. All right, Anthony, we're going to come over here. So let's go over here. And so, as I said to the sculptor, excuse me 1 second, these are all of the names of the 1,300 workers. And so we'll get it. So they're all in alphabetical order here. And this is very reminiscent, as I said, of the Vietnam Veterans Memorial in Washington, D.C. And so then, of course, you have down here where they actually have dates in terms of the walk them through. So this says Thursday, March 28th, as promised, Dr. King returns to lead the march. We started at Claiborne Temple. As the march advanced down historic Beale Street, some youth created a disturbance by breaking windows. The police shoot tear gas into Claiborne Temple Church and assault the marchers with tear gas, mace, nightsticks, and gunfire. 16-year-old Larry Payne is shot to death. A Tennessee General Assembly authorized a 7 p.m. curfew. 4,000 National Guards to make their presence felt in the city. And so then we go down here. We have the date right here. So they have Friday, March 29th down here as well. And so you have a timeline here. And then let's go further down here. What you actually see is you'll see Tuesday, April 2nd, where they have, of course, folks who attended the funeral of Larry Payne. and then it goes all the way around. And so we see here, I'll just keep the camera down here. So we see April 3rd, Dr. King returning to Memphis. And then, of course, they take it place around here to Thursday, April 4th, when he was assassinated as well. And then, of course, it takes us around to April 8th, when you have 42,000 people participating in the silent march led by Coretta Scott King. And then, of course, then you have April 16th, which is the final date that's actually on here. African leaders announced that an agreement has been reached to end the strike, and the sanitation workers vote to accept it. You have the settlement there. And so the timeline here takes you from the beginning. And so if we actually go back over here, the start of all of this was February 1st, when the first two workers, Robert Weaver, Echo Cole, actually were killed. So let's take it back over there, Anthony. And so we'll walk it around here. We'll see again the timeline beginning. How you doing? How you doing? Give me 1 second. 1 second. Again, see the timeline that goes all around here. So it starts all the way over here. And so again, Claiborne Temple right here, and then so you have the beginning of all of this. Sort of the timeline that's on here, and then it takes it, so the timeline takes you all the way around the memorial. And again, right here, Echo Cole, Robert Walker. I said we were earlier, my apologies. Echo Cole, Robert Walker were the two workers who were crushed in the barn in a garbage compactor on February 1st. And so, again, the strike, they authorized the strike on February 11th, and which took place at Labor Temple. And then, of course, it was on February 12th when 1,300 strikers actually, these black men, went on strike. And so, again, so what you'll see here in this plaza, the timeline takes you all the way around the plaza here. And then, of course, what you have is you have the names, again, on the wall. If you look over there, Anthony, get a shot. So all of those names, all 1,300 workers are on that wall there. And then, of course, you have as a centerpiece of the plaza, of course, the I Am a Man statue. And we were talking to Cleo Smith. What he said was it was Joe Warren, who was one of the workers who, when they met with the mayor treated them literally like they were children, and told them, what are you guys doing here? Literally told these black men to get out of his office. And it was Joe Warren who looked at the mayor in the eye and said, I am a man. And when we were talking to Bill Lucy, what Lucy said was that it wasn't just what they were fighting for wages. They literally were fighting for basic decency and basic respect. And that's what they were actually fighting for when it came to this particular movement. And so we'll go back over here, and so we'll take a look at the monument here. And so again, the thing that I think for so many people who don't think we focus on all of those, we just focus on him. But he was here for the sanitation workers, and so that's why we were here. And so as he said, of course, you'll see here all of the quotes of Dr. King. Part of his speech are infused actually within the monument. It actually is rather impressive. Also, this will actually light up at night as well. And so if you look down here, you have the lights here. And so when people drive by at nighttime, they'll actually be able to see this. And so I'm sure this is going to look amazing at nighttime. And so the reality is here. So again, we've been here for the last 4 days. We've been live streaming all these different events. This really is the last of the major MLK 50 events that are taking place in Memphis. And so how fitting for us to end all of this right here, of course, in this plaza, but also here, of course, where you have Claiborne Temple. And this is where they assembled. This is where most of the marches took place. And so the AME churches has actually had this building since 1949. And so, as I said last night, This is April 5th, and so for many of us, it's what do we do now? And where do we go from now? How do we actually keep this vision going? You heard what Cleo said. They're still fighting for wages and benefits for those part-time workers. And again, for so many of us, if you talk about the fight for 15, if you talk about closing the wealth gap, closing the inequality gap, all of these things exist. And so even though we're focusing on what took place 50 years ago, this generation has its own job to do. That's really what all of us should be focused on. And so we thank all of you for watching. Of course, we've archived all of these videos that we have here. And so what we hope and desire is you go back, share this, share these videos from Periscope, from YouTube, from Facebook as well. The folks who could not see this can see this. And you also should be making sure your children are seeing this because they need to be fully aware of our history. And so this is Roland Martin. I'm signing off, and we're going to end this and simply Anthony getting a wide shot of the I Am a Man sculpture here for all of you to enjoy. So thanks for watching, and y'all have a great day.
Did you get a friend? Y'all want me to take one for y'all? Thank you, so sweet. I don't know. Who's putting her out? Who they out? You ready? Yeah. Thank you. You welcome. Ready?
Take.
Miss Barbara, I think I got you. You did. I did. So we're standing in the way. She wants you trying to get pictures of Ronnie and we're standing in the way. Still waiting on this. I'm hanging around for this picture when he finishes. There's no way. On my Facebook page. I'm gonna call you. Oh, yeah. Go ahead.
Hold on. Go vertical. Okay, yeah, you can just hang tight there, and we'll be done shortly. We just wrap that. Got it. I'm still out.
Oh, you gonna take it with his daddy? Oh, I gotta get this. Hold on. All right. Oh, to get you on your daddy. Oh, it's good. I'm trying to get I love it. Thank you.
Yes, he and his mom, and I'm his wife. No, ma'am. I try not to take pictures.
Thank you. Got it? She puts it down and took. You ready? Come on. You gonna take me two Barbara? Yeah, two Barbara. Barbara.
Oh, y'all too sharp. Okay, one. Oh, okay, I know. She about to wait a minute. Ain't nobody doing this song. I'm gonna you. One more. Let's go. 1, 2. Beautiful. There you go. You want to go? Yeah. You can say it. In the word. Okay.
Maybe she's supposed to live here.
The world.
On the 6 pedal. I like to shoot long. It's like right here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
You do one more for me, Shirley?
Well, you know what?
Go down, Moses, way down in Egypt land. Tell old Pharaoh, let my people go.
Yes, sir.
God bless it. God bless it.
Okay, Reverend Lawson,
How you doing? All right. You don't have a program up there over there. May I take a picture of the pages? You have one right. I like the jacket.
Yeah, that's what they wore 50 years ago.
That's my dad's jacket. Oh my God. He wore it 50 years. Oh,
Yeah.
Newspaper needs a picture of him right here, just right here. Where's the commercial deal over here? Oh, you're going to shoot this way, right? Okay, so stand like this.
I get him in.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Yeah, can you move just to the side this way?
Okay.
Perfect.
Okay, go.
All right, and if you want to be facing me, yes, please.
I'll get him with him in a few minutes.
This is the moment if
Yeah, I
anybody
know.
wants to get
This
go
is
on this
beautiful.
side to.
Okay, I didn't see that.
Nine right there. And I'm finna get you hear me? My daddy the one Mars, Roosevelt. He was here. They do.
Yeah, great. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you. All right. All right, you ready? Okay.
Photo.
Oh, I thought you were actually All right, ready? This last picture. Okay, my brother.
You sneak in for one more?
He just said last one. Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Lawson.
But he wanted to hear all of it.
For your inspiring words yesterday.
Oh, thank you.
I'm okay.
You're okay. Okay. So, get Karen. Our car is just right here close.
Let me get David. Got it. All right, well, let me get Brother David.
Anthony's involved.
All right, good shot. One.
We already paid this employee. I'm like, you know, you did not.
He's very arrogant, very cocky. He has a bully mentality.
Yes.
And I'm told Anthony knows.
You're the guy risking. I told you to take the hat off.
Oh Lord.
Huh? I'm gonna have to do something about that.
Oh my gosh, man, dude, you know, Redskins all day. Cowboys go home.
It's what now?
Redskins all day, Cowboys go home.
It seems like that's what happened to you guys. You're not recording me, right? No, he's right over here.
The Cowboys. Oh no, I know what rolling is. I'm saying that the Cowboys, they got shit at home on
Too now.
I mean, we was talking about the Cowboys.
No, you were talking about the Cowboys, which is what everybody in America always does. I was talking about the Redskins. My guy that I was with, diehard Red. He's president of the Memphis Redskins fan club. But I can tell you something.